for the city of Statesboro. We will have our invocation and pledge allegiance by Councilmember Phil Boyd.
Thank you, Mayor. Can we all bow our heads, please? Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us this beautiful day, and thank you for bringing the rain to our community, and thank you for allowing us to be here to serve our community. Lord, as we get ready to take that last breath in the summer before the hectic activity that is the fall, wanted to take a moment to pause and thank you for the pain, the tragedy, and darkness in our lives. That may sound strange, but for without pain, there is no joy. Without tragedy, there is no triumph. And without darkness, there is no light. Be with us today as we do the people's work. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move down to agenda item 3, public comments. Leah, do you have any public comments?
No, Mayor.
All right, we'll move down to agenda item 4, consideration of a motion to approve the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes the approval of minutes from our July 6th council meeting, as well as item B, which is consideration of a motion for approval of surplus and disposition of the Pac-Mac knuckle boom lower body in the Public Works and Engineering Department. Agenda item B is without the driving of Councilman Riggs.
You the mayor, you can put in there with the, with me taking a test, taking 4 test drive.
Good.
I would be much appreciated.
Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, let us show that agenda item 4 has passed. We'll move down to agenda item 5, which is consideration of a motion to award a department-owned firearm to retiring Lieutenant Scott Hutchins after 30 years of exemplary experience. Council, is there any discussion in regards to the firearm for Scott Hutchins?
Congratulations.
Congratulations, absolutely.
And thank you for 30 years of work to get there.
Oh,
30
yeah,
years.
absolutely.
30 years.
Yeah, that's,
Major.
thank you. Let me know we said that.
Yeah, why ain't here?
This is just
You
the
got 30 years in you.
Oh, so I'll be back later so we can.
Yeah,
aggravate.
absolutely. But let them know that we really appreciate his service.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. With that being said, is there a motion to approve Councilman Riggs?
So moved.
Is there a motion to, second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and Councilman Riggs, we know how you feel about law enforcement, so that's why we wanted you to make that motion. But with that being said, we'll move down to, agenda item 6, which is consideration of a motion to approve the city of Statesboro to have a purchasing card program with Synovus Bank for a monthly limit of $300,000, and approve Cindy West, Finance Director, to be the card administrator. Jason, if you will, give us some insight on that.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor, Council. As you're familiar with, the city entered into a new agreement for banking services with Synovus Bank recently. And this item here is to comply with the terms of the Synovus policy to receive council minutes formally approving the use of this limit for Cindy, Finance Director, for the purchasing card. So this is just to bring that into compliance.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any discussion by council?
So this is similar to the policy we had with our previous banking vendor, we're just doing it, just getting up to date with some of us.
The terms and limits should be similar to what we've had before across the board, but Synovus just has a different policy than what we had with BB&T.
And we trust Cindy.
Do we?
Cindy?
Thank you, Cindy.
Any further discussion by council? All right, Cindy?
Can I make a clarification on that?
Yeah, come forward.
Cindy West, Finance Director. This is not my limit. This is all the city employees that have a purchasing card. It would be their monthly limit. And what the card administrator does is make sure that everything is being done correctly and charged correctly, and that nobody does go over the limit and all the purchases are correct.
Okay.
So.
So you can't go out and buy a $299,000 Pac-Man
No,
knuckle boom
no.
loader?
No, we cannot.
Okay.
No single card will have this limit. This is a cumulative limit
Okay.
of all the cards that the city is, the state's road employees have. No, not one person has a $300,000 limit. That is not, no, they have much smaller limits than that.
And you will be watching it.
And we
Sure.
want to just,
Sure.
like we currently do. This gives me the permission to go into, the website or a designee to be able to track everything, to issue the cards like they're supposed to and keep up with them.
Okay,
So Synovus has this in their policy, works just like we're working now
okay.
with BB&T.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Cindy.
Cindy.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, seeing that there's none, motion to approve?
So move.
All right, motion to,
Second.
second?
Second?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. We'll move down to agenda item 7, which is consideration of a motion to approve change order 17 with Lambert and Associates Incorporated in the amount of $110,946 for the Loretto Parking, Greater Street Park Improvements Project, and authorize the mayor to execute contract document amendments. Jason, if you will, give us some insight on that, please.
Thank you, Mayor. At the Grady Street Park site, the contractor, upon preparing to install the base material for the parking lot, discovered some unsuitable soils. The soils were wet, saturated, had to be removed, and brought, new suitable material had to be brought in. So our city staff, engineering staff with the contractor determined the adequate amount that would have to be removed and new material brought back in. And that amount, that total amount winds up being $110,946. This is an item that we had anticipated, that we had not planned for necessarily. Excuse me, we had not anticipated, we had planned for it through our cost cushion, if you will, through the budget. So we are still under budget with this item and still on track.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any discussion by council?
Just a quick question, Mayor. With the exception of this one, which is in the contingency portion of the budget, all the additional additions since our very first approval have not been increasing the budget. They've just been additional items that were approved later on from the initial approval. Is that correct?
That's right.
I mean, just to make sure that the budget is not continuing to expand on
Yes.
this. We are still within the original budget that we talked about months ago.
That's right. The original amount that was financed was $4.5 million. We're still within that, still under budget, even with this change order. And this was part of those contingency items.
This is why we put a 10 to 15% contingency in every project. You just never know what you're gonna find when you start digging.
That's right, and that was disclosed in the beginning of the project from the city manager.
Yeah, I do think, and I don't know whether you received the same questions that I have, but I did receive a question of whether or not the parks were going over budget or not. And so what I had explained in that case is that 4.5 is the total amount that's been allotted for the project, and we're not at that point as of yet. So I think there was a little bit of confusion in that. I know I ran into it, and it sounds like maybe the councilman had the same questions as well.
So, yes.
Yeah, okay. With that being said, is there any further discussion?
Yeah, this is still, we're still looking at the green-friendly surface for the parking lot. This isn't changing that, the porous.
So with this discovery of the unsuitable soils, we were not able to do the pervious pavement because the ground was already saturated, and we weren't able to do that at this location because of that.
So we got another paved over parking lot. Gotta have.
Yes, ma'am. Unfortunately, the soils were just very wet when the contractor got over there, and we had to excavate down a couple feet to be able to bring in some more suitable material.
Okay. We're still looking at being able to have one at the other place on the Grady Street location. We're talking about that parking lot still being that way, or is there gonna be a problem there too?
So this was the area we were looking at initially based on topography to do the pervious pavement, but we weren't able to do that.
So it's not planned at this point on Grady Street either.
Right, for both locations, yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's sad. Y'all help me watch so that we stay on top of this and we do it as green as we can every time we can. Because I just hate more and more pavement running water off into our sewers instead of soaking into the ground and feeding the trees and stuff.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, this stormwater does run off, it doesn't go into the sanitary sewer, it goes back into the groundwater to the creek. But we do go through the stormwater retention area, and we try to minimize the impacts downstream from the site.
Yeah, it was interesting watching them, address this issue, cause they literally probably dug, maybe 3 feet, I guess, and this is to the novice eye. But as they were digging it, it looked like a little pond type
Right.
deal. The water, it was so much water that was there. And then I noticed that when I came back and looked again, they had like some type of mesh material, over it. So it was real interesting looking at them address it. But, you know, that was, it was a learning experience, to be able to see how they navigated that particular issue. But Councilwoman Barr is correct, and we have to make sure that we're being good stewards of our environment, because that is something that is currently, we're in the crux of a very serious moment, as it relates to our environment. So we definitely want to be as green, friendly as possible.
Absolutely.
Well, and maybe in this instance, Jason, since you had to pivot on the parking surface, you know, minimizing the heat that it generates in the later part of the afternoon by planting taller trees or bigger shrubs or something along those lines. Maybe you can help mitigate it in that way. I mean, it all works together in concert, so if you can't do one thing, you gotta do something else.
That's right, trees do help in that regard, and we have a solid tree plan with both parks.
Yeah, I see the trees going in now, so, yeah.
And actually, isn't there a retention pond on the property?
There is,
So-
on both sides.
So is it possible that the runoff from the driveway would go into that before it went into the creek, or maybe not?
It depends on the grades. I'm not sure with the excavation as deep as it was, as the mayor
Right.
alluded to, I'm not sure if we're able to get the water from that location into the detention pond.
Yeah. And if you guys had that chance to get right there and take a look, the detention pond, they've already glassed it over, so it's greening the area. And I had an opportunity to talk with Hunter, one of the employees that was putting together, that was actually laying the grass. And he was really excited about the approach that we're taking for the space. And so we got some great people working on it, but overall, we definitely gotta make sure that we continue to be good stewards.
Absolutely.
Okay. With that being said, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Let it show that agenda item 7 has passed. We'll move down to agenda item 8, other business from city council. Is there any other business from city council?
Just one quick one, and I'm sorry Charles isn't here, I'm gonna put it to him instead of Jason, but this is along the lines with Sherry's concerns on the previous item. Just had a number of folks over the past few months ask me about recycling, why we're not doing recycling. I know where we're at, but the public maybe just doesn't necessarily know in the history of what we've had together. Is there some way in the future, maybe in August or September, depending on what our schedule looks like, just an overview, maybe 15 minutes or so, you know, what's happened in the past 10 years in recycling globally, what's happened in the past 10 years in recycling here in the county, and where we stand from a state standpoint and availability of services. Because as we all know, we want to collect it, but we have nowhere to take it. So
Absolutely.
is that something, are you guys?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What kind of time do you think the staff would need in order to put something like that for staff, for the council?
I'll need to get with the county, because the county is, under our service delivery agreements, the county handles the recycling portion. So maybe a month, give them time to get with them and then get their information together.
Okay, and Councilman Boyd, would you want that at a work session, or would you want that at this meeting?
No, I think a work session is probably appropriate, wouldn't you guys think? I mean, again, I'm not looking, I don't want to drive down into the details necessarily, it's just kind of an overview, get the newer members up to speed, and just really get the public back up to speed, because we haven't talked about recycling here in the community for what, 3-4 years maybe, so I think, we have short attention spans these days, so going back and giving a little history lesson on local recycling efforts, and then maybe, what we can possibly maybe do moving forward, so.
Exactly.
It's
Let's include what prospects are for doing better in the future. And I know their markets aren't there, I keep hearing that.
Right.
But some places around us are able to recycle and find something to do with it. So what can we do to get us in better shape that way?
It's always good to look at who's doing it well, and see if there's an opportunity for us to mimic that. Based on conversation, am I hearing September work session, is that long enough, for staff to put that together
We should get to have something for the August.
for the August work session?
Right.
Okay. All right, that's good. Is that suitable with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, you know, I don't wanna, this is not an emergency type thing, but it is something that, you know, we need to bring back to the forefront and have a discussion and start putting some longer term plans together, because there's clearly no short term solution for it right
We'll
now.
aim for the August work session. If there's something that changes, we can't get all the information together, we'll update you on it.
That works, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, thanks, Mayor.
All right, any other business from city council? All right, I do want to take the opportunity to mention Reverend Julius Abraham. He was a longtime educator here within the community. He was the assistant principal at Statesboro High when I was there, and we lost him over the past within the past few days. This man was a very humble giant within our community, very mild-mannered, but someone that had a wealth of wisdom. Me and a good friend was talking today about him, and whenever we got sent to the office, right before he paddled us, he gave us a great talking to. And then he would pat us on the butt like our grandmother would with a paddle and just walk us out the door. And it's because of people like that that really gave a lot of people in this community opportunity through their mentorship, through their willingness to serve. And I just wanted to make it public that we truly lost a giant within our community in the passing of Reverend Julius Abraham. With that being said, if there's no other comments for city council, we'll move down to city manager comments. Jason, do you have anything for us?
I do, yes, sir. I have 4 items. First, I want to announce that the city clerk will be advertising for the qualification for elected official positions beginning Tuesday, July 27th. I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that. Next item, Parks ribbon cutting ceremony. We're tentatively planning for July 31st at 1 p.m.
Okay.
So that's where we are with that. We'll have more information coming out soon. Lane's working on some information in conjunction with the county. So we'll be pushing that information out in the very near future. Third item, we received word from the Coastal Regional Commission that the transit buses are delayed due to manufacturing challenges, supply chain challenges. We're currently looking at mid-November at the earliest, they're telling us.
Wow.
Could possibly be January.
Okay.
That's the latest information we have. We're not getting a lot of information on that. That's what we've got from the Coastal Regional Commission. And last item I have is you all should have a letter of support in front of you all. So the Business Innovation Group reached out to us, and they're applying for a Small Business Administration Community Navigator Grant. This is a $2.5 million grant over 2 years. There's no financial commitment from the city. It's just a letter of support they're requesting for the grant application, which the deadline is later this week, I believe. And so time is of the essence for them. So the Business Innovation Group will be the regional lead in this grant. If received, it will support the cities of Statesboro, Savannah, Hinesville, Metter, Brunswick, and various project sites. It's a hub and spoke type of approach to the grant. They're also partnering with multiple agencies. Dominique told me about 25 partner agencies in the region. And the goal is to promote and support entrepreneurship in underserved markets in our region through a comprehensive and coordinated strategy. Again, it's just a letter of support to provide the Business Innovation Group in their grant application, no financial commitment from the city. So if I can get a motion to approve that, that'll be.
Okay. Any discussion by council? Okay. With that being said, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, I'm just a little slow again. I do have one more thing I'd
Go
like
ahead.
to communicate and share with folks. There are a couple of back-to-school events going on. There have been several already. There's another one this weekend that the Chamber of Commerce is sponsoring. They'll be doing it over in the Ag South parking lot, right across from First Methodist on South Main Street, from 8 until 12. They'll have some backpacks and free school supplies. Another very important thing they're doing is they're gonna have providers there. Parents can bring children 12 years of old and older to get their vaccines. They will have free vaccines available on site Saturday morning from 8 till 12 across from First Methodist on South Main.
Councilwoman Barber, do you have a flyer that I can share on social media?
I'll get them to send you one.
Okay. All right.
It's back to school block party is what they call it, 102 South Main, 8 till 12.
Okay, thank you. All right, and we're down to agenda item 10, public comments. Are there any public comments? All right, seeing that there is none, we'll move down to agenda item 11, consideration of a motion to enter into executive session to discuss personnel matters, real estate and/or potential litigation in accordance to OCGA 50-14-3B. We will be going into executive session to discuss personnel matters. Is there a motion to go into our executive session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.